Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, November 8th, 2016. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Joined as always on Tuesdays by Duane Long. Duane, much better circumstances to speak this week. How are you feeling?
Hey, I'm happy I'm not standing in a line somewhere. I voted early. My wife's out there standing in a line waiting to vote. So I've got a smile on my face this morning.
I sent all three kids to school today wearing their Vote Quimby T-shirts, so we should be in good shape. Everyone get out and vote. If I could vote, I would vote for Urban Meyer. I say that in jest. He probably would win. Let's talk about the game. Duane, we haven't really had a chance to hear your detailed thoughts on the W. Obviously, the win over Nebraska, 62-3. I think even for those of us who had great expectations going into the game or great high hopes, that probably went better than expected. What do you attribute that to? I happen to think the team was tired after the Wisconsin game and tired in the Penn State game and worn down a little bit and kind of caught their second win, went up against another team that was a little bit tired from Wisconsin. What's your vibe on why the change was so drastic this week?
Well, I think that there's something to it. Those back-to-back weeks against away against well-rested teams. Spoke to an old coach friend of mine, and he went through, the devil is in the details, and he went through what it's like. He's a college football player, and when you're playing away, it is just so much more chaotic. You're not resting as well. You're not sleeping in your own bed the night before a game. It can be just and just the travel involved, and then coming back and regrouping. You've got travel there. He went through it in detail, and just it really struck me what's going on. And then the other teams were at home, well rested, and able to completely focus on Ohio State and break down tape. So much more time to prepare. I think it definitely had an impact on what happened. I think that especially against Penn State, I saw so many things that were just. Look at the breakdowns on special teams. That is really where the game, we're angry about the offense, but it still comes back to the game was lost on special teams. So we got to look at all those little things and say, there's some stuff going on that we can't necessarily go back and point fingers directly at the coach, the players, anything. There's things going on. This game, I did not expect this at all. I really didn't. I thought we would win the game. I thought Nebraska's schedule was soft. I was never impressed with Tommy Armstrong as a passer. I was impressed with their defense. Good defensive football team that we just destroyed. So it was the most complete game I've seen this team play since the national championship game. Offense, defense, special teams, got it done. The coaching staff was on point. It was just outstanding to watch this team. Hopefully this is not just one of those games. Hopefully this is a trend like the championship team. As the season wore on, it really found its stride and became just a juggernaut. And hopefully that's what we're seeing here.
I had the good fortune of attending the game and having thanks to a good buddy of mine, some really good seats. They were actually on the Nebraska sideline. It's actually the first time I sat over there, but I was a tad late getting to my seats because I was in the hallway talking to the best running back in the NFL's father. And I thought there was a kickoff return for a touchdown. As I'm looking at the monitor, it was the least stressful game I've ever attended to support the Buckeyes, meaning there was not one play, one snap, 1 minute where my heart fluttered one time thinking this game was in doubt. So that made it enjoyable. It was just very impressive. One of the reasons I said what I said earlier about the fatigue is they looked so much faster to me. it was a great game plan, and I do think they're a lot better than Nebraska, but they just looked so fast out there. They looked rested. The defense, again, looked like they had 13 guys out there, and it's just very impressive. And, they did a better job of spreading the ball around and making sure, and this is going to come up soon here, they have to get the ball to Curtis Samuel. I mean, he is by far the most explosive guy on the offense, which leads me to our next topic. Dontre Wilson, if there was a negative of the game, obviously it was Dontre Wilson has kind of been dancing on the line this year as the punt returner. I think everyone has had a lump in their throat when the ball's been in the air. He finally had the classic plane drop that was right in front of me. He just simply looked down, the ball hit his chest protector, and now there's word there's going to be a move. The question is, do you agree with the idea of putting Curtis Samuel back there as the primary punt returner to replace Dontre Wilson?
I just don't like putting key members of your starting unit into the punt situation. I am all about getting change of possession. If you get anything extra out of it, great. But I want to put a guy with great hands back there. Make sure you get the football. That's a wise man once told me, what do you do with $1 million? Well, first get the $1 million. Get the football. And I just don't see the high impact of the punt return itself. I was looking at a lot of numbers yesterday. We were in a big discussion about this on the message board. I just don't want to. We've got guys. It's not like we talk about the depth of this team. I threw out a bunch of names. I mean, you look at it. Even McCall. McCall has become a kid that we really like. Really good football player, and he's definitely part of the mix. But he is not crucial to the football team. He is not crucial. He's extra. Put him back there. You say, well, he's young. Yeah. Well, we haven't seen anything that says he's a guy that's going to put the ball on the ground. We've got other guys. Paris Campbell is doing a great job on kickoffs. Why not give him a shot? We've got McLaurin. He's in the mix at receiver, but he's not crucial. He's a guy that's very fast, very elusive. You can put him back there. Eric Glover-Williams. Great. I can't understand why he's even on defense. Dynamic guy with the ball in his hands when he was in high school. Tough little kid. Put him back there. We're not getting enough out of Fuller. He was as good a safety prospect as he is. I thought he was even better on offense. Let him return kicks. Let's get somebody back there. It's not like we don't have somebody else who can't do the job. There's other guys. Let's try somebody else. Not get a guy who is 1,300 yards, Dan, 10 touchdowns. He scored 22% of the touchdowns in this offense, and we're going to put him back there. I just don't like it. I know Santonio Holmes, me and Dave Biddle were going back and forth about this yesterday and a couple other fans. And yeah, we put him back there. I don't know if we should have. And when we've got options, I don't know if those teams had the options. We know, Chris Vance, he was back there. What was the cornerback's name? Played both ways.
Gamble.
Chris Gamble was back there. But Chris Gamble was a guy that, he was the only dynamic player that we had at the time. That's why he was playing both ways. So we've got football players who can do this job. And it's just, I don't want to see the chance of a key player to our offense. You could say the most crucial player on our offense going out, taking an injury, taking any kind of a knock on a play that someone else can do.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on this. Just from a philosophical perspective, I would never put a starter at Ohio State, a team like you said that should not have an issue with pulling someone out of the second 22 who's not a future pro to put back there. My choice would actually be McCall at this point. I think he strikes me as a very mentally tough guy. Let him focus on that all the time. If he takes can't they coach him up at practice? There's not any reason to put Curtis Samuel back there if you're on the punt coverage team and they put Samuel back there, you're telling me someone on the other team is not going to be like unscrupulous and take a shot at him? I'm not saying they will, but I would not put that risk back there. I've relayed my nerdiness to people here many times. When I watch a football game and my heart is in my throat on TV, I pause it and fast forward through the punt return. Nothing good ever happens. And the idea of putting Samuel back there, it just scares the crap out of me. It's too much of a risk. He's too valuable to the offense. I'm not saying he's a better player than Santonio Holmes. That's a different argument, but I would venture a guess that he, as good as Holmes was, he was not that as essential as Samuel is to the offense. I mean, if you look at it, there's no other player in the country who gives as much to the passing game and running game as Samuel. I hate the idea of putting him back there. If it's because he's the only one who can catch a football in the punt, and we've geeked out of it, I just can't believe that to be true. So I'm with you. I don't know who they put out there besides him.
I refuse to believe that. He's the only guy that can go back there. He's our most dynamic guy, but, you know, like I said, I looked up a lot of numbers yesterday, and it's just the punt return is not, it's just not that big an issue. I pointed out that, was it 8 or 9 of the top 20 punt return units in college football have less than 188 yards in return yardage, and 7 have 1 touchdown and 9 have no touchdowns. It's just not that big a deal. Securing a punt, that's what we need to do. And if we get 5 yards out of it, okay, great. Yeah, I just don't like the idea of what that would do to our offense. And like you said, you got an opportunity to free shot at this kid. Why wouldn't you take it? So, we're in full.
The only way I would let Samuel be back there is if they're losing the game and the other team is punting from their end zone. I buy that. The Darryl Green. I'm old school here. I mean, even like with Des Bryant, like if you have a chance and you're in deep and you have them pinned and it's one catch and take it, then I would consider it once every number of games. Think about it. The Buckeyes don't trail in that many games. So if it comes down to the national championship and they want to do that, if they think they can get a big play out of it, knock somebody out, that's one thing. But I also understand the theory of this. Curtis Samuel's not going to be here that much longer. And so the idea of using him while he's here, I get it. I just think it's too much of a risk. So we will move on. Speaking of being here, interesting discussion has come up now about Dante Booker. Of course, he started the season at outside linebacker. A lot of people had high hopes for him. If you go back and look, there were some who thought he'd have such a good year, he'd be among the mix to consider leaving early. He's that type of prospect. Gets injured early. Jerome Baker comes in, plays like the werewolf that he is, and obviously is now up for the Bucknuts Award and is never going to come out of the lineup until he, is starting for the Saints or something like that. But now there's the idea that Booker could redshirt this year. Not the most normal thing to do to redshirt someone in the middle of their career. Buckeyes have had success doing this with Etienne Sabino a while back, if people remember. He came back and finished off beautifully. Michael Thomas did that. And Michael Thomas is, believe it or not, one of the top 10 receivers on the earth right now. What's your vibe on Booker? Should they push for that, or should they push all chips to the middle and have everyone available?
I don't see any reason. And first thing I would say is he completely healthy? Is he healthy enough to play, or is he completely healthy? If he's healthy enough to play, that's not good enough. There is no reason to risk further injury to him, especially when he is not going to be the starter. There's no way, Dan, you can put him back in the lineup and over what we've seen from Baker. Baker had a really good game against Nebraska. There's no justification for it. Let the kid heal up, get back in the gym with Mick, and get prepared for next year. Is he going to be game ready? That's another thing. Because he's healthy enough to play. If he's 100% healthy, but is he ready? Is he rusty? What's the point? I see too many negatives here. in bringing Booker back. The other argument is make it a we'll see thing. Maybe something happens with Baker, then you've got to bring him back. But generally speaking, I don't think that we need to bring Booker back right now. He's not going to start. He may not be completely healed, and he's probably going to have some rust.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it'll be nice to start next year with Baker and Booker back there with whoever they throw in the middle or however they approach that. I don't think it's going to affect him because he's such a physical specimen that that's not going anywhere. And the second he puts a few good games on tape, his NFL stock will rise. And obviously for the kid's sake, that's what you need to be concerned about here is his career and ability to generate some income. I don't think that's going anywhere for him. And there's a clear spot for him for next year. So I'm of the same mind. If they can pull it off, they should. That said, it's like having a tremendous insurance policy if he is healthy, that you can throw him in there early or any of those guys get hurt now. You have a guy off the bench who's probably better than most of the guys on the other team. So that's excellent. All right, we're going to finish this up as we always do. Duane, I think people may enjoy it better this week. Your eye test top 5 for the United States of America.
Well, until they lose, you got to give it to the defending champions. They're going to be my number one. I'm going to change things up here a little bit because I watched Washington, and what I saw of them was a really outstanding quarterback. I saw a receiver I've never heard of before. I believe his name's Joe Ross or John Ross. I've never heard of this kid.
Yeah.
Wow, is he impressive. But I also noticed what was going on the other side of the line. The Pac-12 is just bad. I mean, I remember thinking this at the time, is the entire defensive backfield on the take? It was awful, and they didn't make any adjustments. What Washington's beating up on, they're clearly the best team out there. So I'm going to have to back off of them. And for now, Clemson keeps winning. Everyone says, well, they haven't looked great, and they haven't looked great. Yeah, they keep winning. They keep finding a way to win, so I'm going to plug them in at number 2. I'm going to go with Michigan at number 3. I'm going to go with Ohio State at number 4. I think we found our mojo again. And I'm going to throw Washington in at number 5, and I could consider throwing Louisville in there. I just didn't like what I saw. Washington may be a paper tiger. They may be a paper tiger. So that's what I'm rolling with.
I'm with you. If you look at the Las Vegas odds right now, the team with the best chance, according to Las Vegas, to win the national championship is Alabama, and number 2 is Ohio State. So I think order has been restored in the world. I realize you can't rank them number 2 based on that. I'll be very interested to see what they do tonight based on, obviously, the college football playoff rankings come out tonight. It'll be a very interesting mix for those who have been under a rock because Texas A&M in the number 4 spot, which was a joke, even because it's Texas A&M, lost to Mississippi State. So the question is, will they move Washington up or have Ohio State jump them? If they go by their mentality of why they ranked Texas A&M 4th, I could see Ohio State moving up. I actually don't think that will happen. I think they'll be 5th, but they'll be in great shape. I really think your top 4 to me is the top 4. I don't see how a Pac-12 or a Big 12 team could be in the mix. I also don't think Washington's going to be able to finish this thing undefeated. I don't know who's going to clip them, but we shall see. We appreciate Duane stopping by. People, like I said, tremendous coverage tonight of the college football playoff. This is a big one for Ohio State. Obviously, they still control their own destiny, and a win over Michigan is going to get them in if they can pull it off, but we want to see where they are tonight. Have a great one, Bucknutters.